Hello and welcome to today's virtual lightning talk on listening to the body, auditory work and asthma experiences by myself, Professor Jacquelyn Allen-Collinson of the University of Lincoln, UK, and my colleague, Dr. Helen Owton of the Open University in the UK. These then are the three projects on lived experience of asthma in serious exercises and non-elite sports people, from which our data today are drawn. Today then we're going to focus specifically on two key dimensions that emerge from data analysis. This is asthma as dys-ease, as provoking dys-ease in Leder's terms and a lack of bodily control. And then secondly, fine-grained bodily attunement and learning somatic control of the body and of asthma symptoms as far as possible. For those unfamiliar then with this particular breathing disorder, some basic background information. Particularly relevant to us is the fact that whilst moderate to intense physical activity tends to provoke asthma attacks, at least in many participants, 80 to 90% of asthmatics are susceptible to asthma that's induced by exercise. On the other hand, regular physical activity brings strong physical and psychosocial benefits. This then was a background to the qualitative study which we wanted to undertake on lived experience of asthma, particularly among sports participants and committed exercisers. The first of our two themes then is asthma as provoking dis-ease in the body. So for Leder, in the normal healthy state, our taken for granted experience of the body is marked by a relative lack of self-reflection and awareness of being a body in the world. The body's backgrounded, it's absent, it's not the focus of our intentionality or at the forefront of our mind. It thus disappears. However, when everyday bodily routines are interrupted, for example in the case of pain or injury or other intense sensation, including asthma attacks, the body breaks into consciousness. It disappears to us. And the asthma body disappears when breathing becomes difficult, when one becomes very self-conscious and very heightened awareness of being a body in the world and a body that is struggling. Our participants described, particularly those who suffered from more severe forms of asthma and attacks, the unpredictability of asthma and how this generated feelings of panic, in Heideggerian terms of thrownness, being caught out by one's own body, as Lucy describes. And similarly does Jane, very much about the panic, the fear, being out of control, not being able to breathe, panic emerging as a very strong theme. One male participant, therefore, evocatively described the black zone as he portrayed this, when asthma would develop into a severe, even life-threatening attack.
You can't breathe either way, in or out, for some time. I think that's black. You say if you drown, you get this sense of beautiful calm, and I didn't get that. It was vigorous, choked, glorifying panic of, I have to find a way to get air into my lungs. It was very, very scary. It was more scary than dangling off a cliff, being in a car accident or anything like that. Oh, this is it then. It's scary, scary, scary.
Of our strands then we want to look at today, we term bodily attunement and breathing work. So we're drawing here on sociological and anthropological literature on the senses, and particularly on ethnographies of sound and the soundscape. So a lot of our participants reported deep, careful, very finely nuanced auditory attention to their asthma symptoms, which Helen and I have discussed in previous work. So for these participants, noisy, heavy breathing, wheezing, coughing were all, as Vanini et al. Would term, non-symbolic sonorous expressions and were very acutely recorded in experience. So people with asthma perennially listen to their bodies, anticipating and monitoring symptoms with the aim of being able to control them, at least to some extent. We found that our exercisers and sports participants were highly motivated to engage in asthma management and to be able to control their asthma and their symptoms. It became clear then that a lot of our participants engaged in very refined auditory work and careful monitoring of sound and other proprioceptive indicators, for example, feelings emanating in the lungs, in the trachea, and this emerged very strongly from our data. For example, Eve describes this in very evocative terms. So, with the benefit then of lived experience and having developed this often highly nuanced attunement to their body's reactions to asthma, some participants did report that they'd learned how to expect and to some extent predict their own bodily reactions to asthma and how to perhaps head off an asthma attack. And this gave them some feeling of being a bit more in control, in that they could foresee what was going to happen. As Betty reported, and also Nick, similarly a runner. And just to finish, some of our work that has been undertaken in this area. And thank you very much for listening in to this lightning talk. I hope it's been useful. Thank you.